By the way, you know, that's all they ever do. They just send these funny things online. And do you have anything? It's killing
You
me.
know what? On that note,
And when it's the useful stuff, it's like too long to read.
yes, yes, yes. I came across this story actually yesterday.
Which one?
Um,
Was it on Face?
It was on Facebook, yes.
on
It was
Facebook.
interesting actually because there's this person in America. He was traveling with his
Okay.
young 2-year-old daughter, and
Was this an article?
yeah, it was an article and a video that's posted
Oh,
on one
okay.
of the.
So it's a true thing, yani.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
happened.
okay.
Yeah, it was shared 30,000 times by people and
Wow.
so on. And he was just checking in for a flight, but he was told that because his daughter had become 2 already, and when he booked the ticket, she was only 1.5 years of age.
So
I
is the
think.
difference between the tickets for 1.5 and 2?
Yeah, because
Oh,
after 2, you have to buy like a child ticket, and before it's an infant ticket.
okay. Yeah.
So he was told he has to pay something like $749, which was a substantial amount, and he didn't have it.
It's a substantial
So he was
amount.
very distraught. He was, emotional, hugging his daughter, and all of a sudden, a stranger just comes in and talks to him for a bit, then goes to the lady dealing with it and says, "I'll pay for it." Totally unknown, to the person. And he came to her and said, "Are you sure?" She said, "Don't worry about it." And he said, "Okay, give me your name. Let me pay you back." She said, "No, don't worry. It's fine." It was filmed by someone because he'd seen the person being kind of emotional about it. And it was posted. And then what happened was it was shared by so many people, and I felt so much inspired. And one of the people that actually got the story here, it says, one of the people that actually got this story said, "I know this lady," because the lady said, "I don't want anyone to know my name." She said, "I know this lady, I'm not going to mention her name, but I've met with her and I've sat with her. And one thing about her is that she has this belief in God, and when we sit to eat, she believes that we should translate this belief to something positive and practical to help
I
others."
like that. She's like the Good Samaritan.
Yes, exactly. How beautiful it is. It was
But that's a very nice
inspirational.
point, by the way. نقطة لطيفة. That when they're sitting together and speaking, she said to her that my main point for my religion is how can I portray it in a good way, and how that's very nice, by the way. I like
And
that.
do you know what it shows? It shows in this world of, unfortunately, so much violence and hatred and bigotry, there are still so many good people, good human beings with principles and values.
Yeah,
But
of course,
also,
that will never
essentially, that belief in God is not just something that has stayed within their heart, but it's something that drives them to put a smile on somebody's face. And the very fact that she didn't want anyone to actually
No, that's
know
a genuine
about
person.
it. Yeah,
That's a genuine
quite
person.
sincere.
In this decade, in this era of social media, this would be like the best thing for somebody, you know. You should put a picture of themselves, hero. Look what I did. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, yes.
It's perfect.
Or they do it to get the recognition.
But I guess this person's spiritual. But talking about spirituality, you know, you say that there are still these kind of people.
Mm.
It's funny. The other day I was reading a survey. Actually, one second, I've got it here.
Mm.
University of Georgia. It's about spirituality.
Mm.
Come give this a look. Would you say that the religion you were raised in affects your spiritual perspective? So only 18% said yes, 30% were a bit confused, 43% no, nothing.
Interesting.
That's for the larger number of people. Even though I'm not saying they're bad people, maybe they do good things, but that whole concept of being religious or being spiritual, whatever it is, it's kind of died on them. And especially that, see, even the way that I said it, spirituality or whatever it is, it's not very defined clearly. I mean, it is like that when you say, "Are you spiritual?" They're like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Or
It's
no,
interesting,
or
because
what
I also
means?
came across a survey across different Muslim communities, but specifically Shia ones, actually.
Well, this was a Muslim one, because this was,
Yes,
I think this was a
But this
Christian
survey
one.
was
Okay.
asking people, do you feel spiritual? And, about, I can't remember, about 70-something% said we don't feel any spirituality, or we don't feel spiritual at all.
You're not eating any fruits.
Thank you, Ahsan.
Please,
I
please.
will have some. And what was interesting about it is the idea and the definition of what spirituality is, because I think the key thing, a lot of us perhaps want to be spiritual, and it's a nice feeling. You know, people have this notion of spirituality as being purity, calmness,
Yoga,
tranquility. Yeah.
Gandhi.
They feel like
Have you ever seen
spirituality
those
is like,
kind of like-
you know,
Yeah.
like you're floating in the air kind of thing.
Drink Red Bull and you're spiritual.
That's what some people believe. You know, you're on a carpet out there, or this flying carpet, and somehow, you know, up in the heavens and the
So
sky.
when you get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you don't have sins, you feel you're not weighed down. So I understand this kind of perception, because you know everything has to be characterized, kind of visualized
Yeah.
in character, in a physical form. So when people visualize spirituality, as I said, for example, Gandhi always comes in, you know, the white thing, the purity, this
Yeah.
and that, humble, piousness, blah, blah, blah. But to most people, it's just words.
It is.
And it doesn't really mean anything. And even to try to achieve it, what is it so I can achieve it, and how do I go about it if I don't even know exactly what it is?
Yeah.
And more defined. It's not defined.
It's not defined. What's interesting is in Latin, apparently spirituality was translated as breathing. So, you know, and
Okay,
we
interesting.
need, and that's what kind of drove me to think about what actually is spirituality, because these people are saying we don't have it. Maybe they have it or a part of it, but they're oblivious of it. And you and I need air to breathe to survive, don't we? We need it there. So spirituality, in essence, is that power and that feeling and that strength of the soul that is needed for survival, but not for the survival of the body, but for the survival of the soul, so to speak. And I know it's
I
a
think most
fairly
people don't understand the soul. And probably
yes,
that's why.
and that's why we have a beautiful hadith from Imam Ali alayhi salam. It says, "Man arafa nafsah faqad arafa rabbah." He or she who has deep recognition and cognizance of their soul, their self, will have that of their Lord. So that's a journey of spirituality, journey of self-discovery, self-introspection, self-reflection.
You know, the whole kind of Rumi's cave and thing became very popular recently on social media and stuff.
Yeah.
And the whole Sufi kind of stuff. People are really into that. They're really into that. And again, I think that's because they're craving to search for something that they don't necessarily know what's
and
going
that
on.
craving is very important. That yearning, we believe, is part of God's plan, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us with the nafs, the soul, and He's created us with the body. And the
But our
body is the
madhab has
carrier of the soul.
spirituality.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not like we don't focus on spirit, because you know we get that a lot. You guys, fiqh, fiqh. You know what I mean? Although even that, if you were to ask me, I think that is a form of spirituality, because the reason you focus on fiqh is to do
It's
what
interesting you say that,
the
because-
obligations and go away from sin. When you go away from sins, you will become more spiritual.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my perception, of course.
It's interesting you say that, because in Islamic spirituality, you must do the things right. In other
Exactly.
words, the fiqh. So you can't be spiritually inclined if you don't perform your prayers correctly. So the fiqh is needed. It's there. It's essential component of feeling that proximity and purity to God and purity
But
of the
I've
soul.
realized our youth would kind of they're disinterested with this, and they go towards this whole kind of Sufi flow or wherever it is, you know, mysticism and all that kind of stuff, because it seems very easy. Do you know what I mean when I say that? I mean, it's a couple of incantations, or do this tasbih, or do this ma'ruf shinu, or fast for this ma'ruf. These are all nice. Maybe they're helpful, but do what you're supposed to do, kind of thing. But even if you put that aside, the whole looking at it from a fiqh example, I remember one of the Marajat told me when I was in Najaf. He said it in Arabic, perhaps you can translate it better than me. احنا مذهب الاعتدال.
We are the school of moderation.
Ahsant, moderation. So we have spirituality, we have fiqh, we have this, we have akhlaq, we have akhlaq, we have all this kind of things. And in all of them in moderation. So marahin zaid, yani we haven't gone too deep with spirituality that we kind of forgotten all these. Because I think that's one of the deviation of some of the other madhahib in
Yes.
our school of thought.
There's four things I think are critical for a believer: the theology, the aqaid,
Yes.
the jurisprudence, the fiqh, the akhlaq, mannerism, and spirituality. Okay, so these four components actually are not separate entities, but they're all intertwined. They're all together, and they all support each other in many different ways. But you can't let go of one and focus on the others. And this is the key thing. So your spiritual...
And that's what makes our school of thought
Yes.
so beautiful.
Your spiritual path has to be in line with the aqidah, and has to be part of the ethics, and has to be verified by the fiqh as well. So it's all connected.
I love that. I really love that. I'm glad you said that, yeah.
Separate them. And this is the problem with some groups. They go wild and start doing things which are not part of Islamic teachings, not part of Sharia. In the name of spirituality, I'll start dancing and doing all these kind of weird movements. But hold on, was that the practice of the Prophet? Was that the practice of the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam? So that has to be kept in mind. But I think if we were to kind of want to start from the basics.
Yeah, sure.
If we want to, like, if somebody comes and asks us, what is it all? It's such a huge...
How do you get spiritual? What does it mean?
It's a huge subject, and for me, it's bewildering, it's frightening. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin. Connecting with God, having that feeling of serenity, that tranquility, that calm heart that the Quran speaks about, the submissive heart, that purity of the soul, again, always definitely starts with tawfiq, blessings, and permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I cannot have the goal of getting spirituality for worldly gains. So you have these people who do these very strange, miraculous things.
The magic things.
And they say, oh, he's a guru or mystic, and that's this.
Yeah, that funny
If they're
stuff.
there to get money, if they're there to get attention from people, then that's the wrong purpose. Spirituality in Islamic teachings must be for the sake of Allah and Allah alone. There must be 100% ikhlas, 100% sincerity.
These are tasty strawberries.
Very, very, yes,
Please.
I know. They look it. That has to be in the mind, yeah? Secondly, once I'm in that zone and I recognize, then absolutely what you touched on, the fundamentals of Islamic spirituality, or what we should be looking for, the youth should be looking for, especially in the West, but everywhere, is to do the wajibat and to stay away from muharramat, to do what's obligatory and to stay away what is haram.
Hard.
But it doesn't mean all or nothing. It doesn't mean, if I'm doing, God forbid, some haram, then I can't improve my connection with Allah, my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
This is the thing, you need to clarify. You have to work hard in order to achieve this spirituality. They think it's posting interesting quotes online. You know what I mean?
Precisely, exactly.
And that's the problem I have.
Nothing in life is easy. Everything that we need to, but it's worth it, because we are told it gives you an incredible light. The Quran speaks about in so many areas about this light that it illuminates everything coming from the believers. And this light is from the heart. And this powerful light is that nur that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places if somebody is truly focused and try to get close to him in proximity. When we stand in salah, we say, for example, أصلي صلاة الظهر 4 ركع قربة إلى الله تعالى. What does it mean to say قربة إلى الله? It means I'm
gain closeness.
What does closeness mean? Is he somewhere that I'm trying to get close to him? That's something for people to think about. I want to get close to God, but God is everywhere. He's closer to me than my jugular vein. So why do I need to be close to him? And the way to understand, and that's key for spirituality, is close to what he has ordered me to do, close to aspects that is reflecting on my heart, part of his divine attributes. Just needs clarification that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Wadud, meaning the loving one. Allah is Al-Ghafur, the forgiving one. So if I show love to people and if I forgive people, then I am doing a part of and reflecting part of Asma'ul Husna, God's exalted attributes in society and the community. So that means I'm getting close to God. That's why we have a beautiful hadith that says, the Ahlul Bayt have said, نحن أسماء الله الحسنى. We are the magnificent names of God because they manifested the great attributes of God in the best possible way. So if you're looking for somebody who's forgiving, then you cannot look further than the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt. If you're looking
100%.
for somebody who's merciful, then they were as well. So they manifested them in their actions in the best way. So that's how we gain that immense ability to be close to God, and that's by doing that which I think reflects God's attributes in our character. And we have to have a program. Like you said, it's not easy. You know, I need to be instructed by scholars who are qualified and who have the necessary knowledge, but also follow the path of the Quran and the Ahl al-Bayt.
That's very important.
Because
To
I
not
could easily
deviate
go
far
astray.
from that. Yeah, Hassan.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem with specifically this topic. And maybe that's why they're very cautious about it, even
Yes,
in Hawzat as well.
exactly.
Would you agree with that?
I agree.
Because
I
it's a
agree.
slippery slope
Very much.
when it becomes philosophical, and then you know what I mean. After that, it becomes
Some people have actually lost their faith.
Lots
They've
of
done
people.
something which they found amazing, and Shaitan has got to them, and then all of a sudden, they've, God forbid, gone astray. And I think, yes, direction is very, very important.
There is something I've heard, but I can't remember the source. In Arabic, it's عبدي أطعني
تكن مثلي
تكن مثلي
تقول
أو
لشيء
مثلي
مثلي تقول
كل
لشيء
شيء
كن
كن
فيكون.
فيكون.
My servant, obey me, I will give you
My slave.
my slave, servant, I will give you the ability to say to things, be, and it becomes. Different ways of understanding this, but some scholars have said that means in paradise, because beautiful narration that says, as soon as people enter Jannah, they get this message from Allah that says, I'm the one who says to things, kun fayakun. Now you can say that to things and they become. As soon as you think about it.
That's giving me goosebumps.
Yeah, I know. So what happens is you see, we have a narration from the Ahl al-Bayt that you see a bird flying, and all of a sudden you think, just think. You don't need anything else. Just think, and you wonder, how does it taste like? And the bird immediately is cooked, ready in front of you. Half of it is grilled and half of it is kind of fried or cooked in a very nice way.
You have the grilled side, I have the fried.
Anything is free in Jannah, and everything
Okay.
is, good. There is no, bad stuff
I
happening
have a
in
soft
Jannah.
spot for fried chicken. That's my problem, to be honest.
Well, you don't know if it's a chicken, it's a bird. But anyway, I'm sure it will taste nice. So you taste it, people taste it, and then they feel the pleasure of it, and then the bird flies away as if nothing's happened. But that idea of things, saying things to be, becomes manifested, that perfect state is actually Jannah and actually paradise. But somebody
What's
might...
the other aspect of that? Let's say for this dunya. I mean, we can say that. Well, I don't know if this is right or wrong. So let's talk about it, because I know people who try to attain miracles or presents from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't know really what they call them.
Yeah, they're called karamat. But there is
Karamat.
one
I mean, in the English, what would you call karamat?
special blessings, special favors, special
By the
abilities,
beliefs
special
that
abilities.
if they do everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks from them, they try their best to be as pious as possible, you will be on another realm, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because they say that, I believe this, that on the night of Ashura, on the day of Ashura, a veil was lifted from the eyes of the companions of Imam Hussein
They
alayhi
can
salam,
see their places in Jannah.
because they made that kind of thing. They attained this. And I truly believe that.
Yes.
And I'm
Quran
not talking about
actually
Imam
affirms
Hussein
this.
alayhi salam, the Ma'sumin. I'm talking about these ashab.
Yes. Quran actually established this. كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم. If you have that conviction, you'll be able to see even...
Surah Takum Takathur, right?
Yes, you will be able to see hellfire. Actually, لترون, you'll be able to witness it. I think what happens is, in this world, this is part of also what is known as wilayat al-takwiniya. Wilayat al-takwiniya means essentially Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the ability to the human being to, by His permission, to make some things happen. And that was within the Prophets and the Ahlul Bayt alayhum as-salam. Yes, they only use it for the benefit of mankind, not for themselves, by the way. And it is an interesting discussion.
But being
once
selfless is
let me
the-
give you, once somebody actually sent me a message
Yeah.
and asked, if I can take it out and, read it out to you. He basically said, Salam Sheikh, I'm struggling in my life because every time I'm trying to be seeking spirituality, I seem to get nowhere. So what can you advise me? How do I know if I'm in the right place? Where do I start?
Does he know what seeking spirituality even actually means?
Exactly.
Or
So that's definitely a beginning. But I think what I said to him was, when you commit a sin, God forbid, we all do, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us, how do you feel?
Oh.
How does it kind of play on your mind? Is it something you just move on from, or you feel incredibly guilty, you feel bad, you feel as if like you've had the worst news ever, you know? We have a very beautiful hadith from the Prophet ﷺ that says there's a difference between a believer and a non-believer. If a non-believer sins, it's like a fly that's sitting on their nose and they just push it away. But for a real believer, it's like a massive rock that's landed on their chest.
And they're trying to push it off.
What happens when the rock lands on your chest is you feel suffocated. You feel really tight. You feel in a difficult state. You feel like you're going to die.
Hopefully not from experience.
Well, you know, it's a great thing to feel like that. If only we can feel like that, you know? So, how do you feel? If you feel numb, like, it's like you've been in general anesthetic or local anesthetic. You know, when in an operation, or when you have a tooth.
The tooth is the worst one.
Yeah. You don't feel things going on in your mouth, yes? Anything, the dentist can do anything, right? So
you're eating soup for a week.
That's right. And, you know, none of this delicious food or the stuff we had in the previous weeks.
Yeah.
It's as if you don't have any control over that part of your body, right? Similarly, for some people, sinning is like you're in either local anesthetic or general anesthetic. Just as if like you don't feel it.
Hayat.
So the key thing in the beginning of spirituality is that you need to start feeling the pain. And it is painful.
It is.
It is painful, but we numb it. You know how we numb it? We do it with more desire, more sins. But it is
Someone
painful.
explained to me many years ago the asma of Ahl Bayt alayhim salam as that. I remember we were talking about them and we were debating the correct translation for their asma, whether it's in the English language, whether it's
infallibility
infallible or it's immaculate. Because there's a slight difference.
There is, yes.
Infallible means that they cannot sin.
Correct.
Immaculate means they choose not to sin.
Correct.
Ahl Bayt alayhim salam choose not to sin, and he broke it down to me because I was quite young. He's like, would you jump off a cliff? No, because you understand that jumping off a cliff is a bad thing to do. It will result in your death. You get that. Just like the way that you get that, they get much more than what you get. As in, they know if they lie, it's a sin. And just like how you vision yourself falling from the cliff and dying, they envision what that sin does upon the soul. So they choose not to sin all the time. Does that make sense what I'm saying? I don't know if I explained it well, but
correct.
He explained it.
Correct.
So
Yes.
it was a very beautiful thing, and it always stuck in my mind. That the reason they don't, and it's a very logical approach as well. Does that make sense?
Yes.
They don't sin because they understand how bad that is, just like I understand the simpler things in life. Do you know what I mean? So maybe it's a lack of our understanding of what this sin is doing to my soul is making me less spiritual.
Indeed, absolutely correct. And, you know, Quran often tells us to appreciate that the sin has dual dimensions. It has the actual sin and it has the spiritual dimension of it. So, for example, it says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ أَمْوَالَ الْيَتَامَى ظُلْمًا إِنَّمَا يَأْكُلُونَ فِي بُطُونِهِمْ نَارًا. If you usurp the youth, the money, wealth of the orphans, it's as if your stomachs are full of fire. We don't actually see that, but in reality it is. That the reality, I mean the spiritual reality, so to speak, of the sin itself. So the Ahlul Bayt would be able to see that when the others are committing it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them that ability as well. So that waking up, that realization, that's taking away that numbness, that feeling the pain is very important. We need to feel the pain. And through remembrance of God, through ibadah, through tawbah, through good deeds, through serving others, gradually that pain becomes something that actually helps us to identify our weaknesses and how we actually can progress. But it's a journey. Spirituality is a journey.
It's not something you just reach and then that's it. Even if you think you've reached a level, there's still higher to go, and you know you have to maintain it as well, which I always found maintaining that thing is very hard. I remember I was talking to my wife about it. We came back from Hajj, and you know we're literally flying without wings. And afterwards, you kind of slowly, you know what I mean? And that's why, alhamdulillah, God's blessed me that I'm able to at least once or twice a year go on spiritual journeys. But I get what I mean. I know what I'm saying when I tell you I go on a spiritual journey. When I go to the visitation of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in the holy city of Karbala, sinning doesn't even come in my mind. Anything doesn't come on my mind. Food is not important anymore. Do you know what I mean? You're just there with your master and you love it. Same thing when you go to Hajj and stuff like that. I think people living in the West, practical thing they can do is kathra ziyarat. Go as much as you possibly can, financially can, to ziyarah. At least once a year. Once 2 years if you really can't. That's helped me a lot. And the more you do it, or the more programs you attend perhaps, or something like that, like for example Thursday night Dua Kumail, it helps maintain that, because maintaining is, I found, is very hard. Otherwise it's just like mountains. You know what I mean?
So true, so true. I find that ziyarah, Hajj, Umrah, these trips are spiritual fuels, I call them. You know how like a car can only work, or you can only use it for a particular time until the fuel runs out.
Yep.
You need to top up. Okay, so likewise for our spiritual strength, we need to be in environments of remembrance of God.
Yes.
Environments where people who are buried there were the greatest in teaching mankind. I call them the physicians of the souls.
Ahsan. Oh, I like that.
They are the
I'm going to steal that, by the way.
Atiba'un Nufus.
You mind if I steal that?
Go for
Hashtag Instagram.
Yes, absolutely. So when I go to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when I go to Imam Ridha alayhi salam, these people diagnosed the problems of human beings, and gave them wonderful directions on how to speak to Allah, how to get closer to Allah. And you look at, and I always say to this to our brothers and sisters from all schools, I say, give me a group of people who not only understood Islam in the best possible way, not only characterized it and behaved in the best possible way, but left a great legacy of supplications and du'as and tools of communication with Allah, like the Ahlul Bayt, and I'll follow them. Where do we have people like, for example, Imam Zain al-Abidin, Sahif al-Sajjadiyya, or dua, the mesmerizing dua of Abu Hamza al-Thamali? I say to people, you want spirituality? Break it down. Take small bits, think about it, recite to Allah, open your heart, speak to Him. This notion of munajat, meaning, secret whisperings with God, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We carry a lot of heavy baggage in the sense of our thoughts and our concerns and worries. Allah says, empty them towards me, speak to me, yes, and go to sajda, yes, and just empty. And in those holy places you get a wonderful environment as well.
You really do.
When you're standing with everyone,
Unbelievable,
ziyarah and everything, it's so important that, especially family, youngsters, I've noticed this as well myself. When I am blessed, alhamdulillah, to take my family, I notice the change too. It's not then a struggle, salah time. Immediately when it's salah time, it's salah time.
Yeah.
It's like the air is charged with spirituality.
It really is.
It really is, Alhamdulillah. And we are so blessed that we have these individuals.
The nicest air. This is like a bit on the other side, but I don't know why, is in Mashhad. I don't know, have you ever felt that when you come down from the plane in Mashhad? And you just breathe
the
that
breeze,
Khurasani.
yes.
Yeah, but it has that kind of, that's as soon as, I'm feeling more spiritual already.
Salaam
You know what I mean?
ala gharib al-ghuraba. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us to go. We go
so.
Together, inshallah.
Again, just like 2 years ago, Joe, that was a good trip.
It was a fantastic journey.
That was
fantastic,
a nice trip.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something, when we were doing the majalis after we came back, do you remember, I can't remember, I think it was Muharram, and we had nice black cloth and the red lights like they do in the Hadra.
Yes.
That's what I'm telling you. The red lights, those were they were, like we had the idea for that from the Hadra, from Ma'soom Maqam alayhi salam and that. So we bought the Christmas lights and we kind of put them in the majlis. I remember somebody coming up to me and saying, I really like the decor of the place. It's made me feel really spiritual.
Alhamdulillah.
That made me laugh.
Whatever we can do.
Yeah, of course.
And I think one of the fundamentals is salah. Salah is the greatest act of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to pay attention to it. We have to focus on it, understand what we're saying, and approach it with the right mentality. We mustn't form our day, make salah fit into our schedule, but rather our schedule around salah. That's so important. And on that note, I think we've got about 10 minutes till salah time. Let's get ready. So inshallah, we can pray together.
You're going to lead the jama'ah.
Tafadhal, inshallah.